Yo, what is up guys, Shockwave here, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're back here on the Hunter Classic, and we are back with episode number 2 of how to hunt on the Hunter Classic. So, I know this video has been very long awaited. You guys enjoyed the very first episode, and I actually just quit playing the Hunter after I recorded that first episode. So now that we're back playing Classic, here we go for episode number 2. Alright guys, so for this episode we are going to be going after Roosevelt Elk, and we are here on Red Feather Falls. And if you are new to this series, this is basically me showing you guys how to hunt whatever species we're targeting in the video, and I show you my personal favorite spot to hunt them, and just give you a lot of tips about hunting the animal to hopefully make your hunt way easier. So as you can see, we're at this lodge on Red Feather. I am only going to be using lodges from now on, just to show you guys my favorite spot to hunt them that you can go to without having to buy a tent or anything. So we're at this lodge, and pretty much my favorite route for Roosevelt Elk is to run straight down here to this little riverbank, and usually in this area you're going to find either tracks or get a call or even see an elk. And most of the time I just head up this way and go to this little tower, and this is going to be our first little stop. And then after that I pretty much just make my way all the way up through here, and then eventually end up going that way. So you guys can also hunt this little area pretty much anywhere down through here on this little dotted line. Is a very good place to hunt Roosevelt Elk, and it's very easy to hunt as well. So as far as the inventory goes, this is all I am taking right here. As far as the weapons go, we have the 300 and the snakebite. Both are very capable of taking down Roosevelt Elk. A lot of your bigger rifles can easily take down Roosevelt Elk, like the 9.3 by 62 and the 8 by 57, the muzzleloaders. You know, most of these weapons can take down the Roosevelt Elk, as well as all bows can take down the Roosevelt Elk too. Now for equipment, all I'm bringing along is obviously some binoculars and the elk collar. Then we have some scent eliminator and a spotting scope just in case we need it. This tab is a little bit more personal preference. Obviously if you want to bring a scent hound you can. If you want to bring like a shooting rest or wind indicator, or if you like these binoculars, whatever, you can put that in here. And same for clothing, this is just what I usually wear. But keep in mind that stuff like Boone and Crockett only applies to the deer species, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the deer family. So I'm not entirely sure if that works on elk or not. I usually just play it safe and go with stuff that is good against all animal types. Anyways, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So like I said, they are really easy to hunt in this area, and I do have other videos up on the channel somewhere of me using this little route to kill some pretty nice bull elk. Roosevelt elk used to be one of my favorite animals to hunt, so I do have a lot of experience hunting these guys. Anyways, what I usually do is I will sprint all the way down here until I get right up in these trees, and that's usually when you're going to hear your first call. So I get the hunter made out obviously, and I just listen for a call or look around for movement or tracks. So right about here we're going to go ahead and stop running, and we are just going to walk the rest of the way. And basically what we're doing is just making a straight line to the river, and you'll see as we get out here a little bit further, it opens up into this nice little flat area, and you can see for a couple 100 meters, and it's usually pretty easy to spot and stalk the elk here. So that's really why I always enjoyed hunting out here. Alright, so we have made it out here to this little flat, and so far we've got no sign of elk, but don't let that discourage you. Usually you will run into something around here, whether you got to go further down the river or further up. Most of the time there will be a little herd of elk in here somewhere, and as well as whitetail. So obviously we do not go after other species in this series, but if you guys are just running around hunting this area, you will run into some whitetail, and I have killed some pretty big ones down here as well. So one thing that I actually like to do with Roosevelt elk more than other species is I like to call even whenever I can't see them or I have no clue if there's any around me. I usually just call that blind calling. You're just going around calling and seeing if you can get a response. Because unlike some other species, usually if you call with an elk caller, you'll get a response if there's one somewhere close to you. Alright guys, so I just found some elk droppings, and I actually have a call from a female elk as soon as I used the collar. So we are going to go ahead and mark where she is and get in a decent position to call them in, because with the Roosevelt elk, like I said, they're usually in a herd. Sometimes you will find that, you know, there's one or two just kind of straggling out, but one of the biggest things about hunting Roosevelt elk on the Hunter Classic is you have to have patience. If you just shoot the first female that you see, you're never going to kill a big bull, because most of the time the females will lead the herd, and then after the females come in, there will be a bull behind them. So in this situation, we're just going to sit here. They're coming from up the river. Give them a couple calls in a couple of minutes and they should show up. Alright, so at this point we're just going to go ahead and give them another call. And you want to do this every probably 2, 3, maybe even 5 minutes, just to really make sure that you keep their attention. Because sometimes they'll come in really fast, and other times it'll take them, you know, maybe even 10 minutes, just depending on where they're at, to actually come to the call. But one thing that you will notice about Roosevelt elk is they will usually respond to you, and that makes it pretty easy understanding where they are actually at, and you can kind of set your game plan up from there. Alright guys, so as you heard right there, that is the first call that we have from a bull elk, and he is actually all the way down here. So this could be either one or just two herds. This could be maybe a straggler like I was telling you about. This female up here, the cow, could be just really far behind her herd, or maybe this bull could be far behind his herd. Or it could also just be two different herds. But as you can see over there is two bulls, and sometimes you will have this. Most of the time there's only going to be one bull in each herd, but there is a slight possibility that you'll have what I like to call a brotherhood herd, which means there's going to be like 2 or 3 pretty nice bulls running together, and then the cows will be really far in front of them. Now in this case, this one bull that you can't really see, he's right there, I believe that's him, is a really nice bull elk, so we're gonna attempt to take him out. That one over there is not too bad either, but I believe that one is definitely bigger. So you can see that's just 3 bulls together running in a little herd, and this whitetail's getting really close to me here. The cows are back in there somewhere, so this can get a little bit tricky. Sometimes you'll have this happen and they'll kind of be coming from every which way, but you just want to play your cards right and try not to spook any of them off. Now in this case, this whitetail's getting really close. She might actually end up spooking, but hopefully if she does, she'll run back that way, so we can at least get a shot on one of these bulls. But I haven't called the whitetail or anything, so hopefully she'll just continue walking around and do her own thing. So over here you can see there's a smaller bull in the front of the herd, and then the big bulls are staying back behind. So this is a I believe a 4-man group right here, so there's usually going to be one that stands out over the rest. And as you can see, the first two that came over, actually the first three, are all really small. But that one in the back that we can't see right now is definitely a big bull. And this whitetail could possibly ruin everything for us. Alright, well, the whitetail didn't actually end up spooking the bulls, so that's really good. That one right there is not a bad bull. That's about your average size one. He's a 270 to 440. Now my spotting's not that high on Roosevelt elk. So this is where things get really tricky with Roosevelt elk hunting, because now you have these smaller bulls that are going to come really close to you, and then the big one that you actually want to end up shooting hasn't even crossed the river yet. So in this case, what we're going to do is just lay down and try to get a little bit of distance between us and the bull that's close. And we really just want to pick out where the big one is and target him. Now, if you are a fan of the Parker Python, you can actually take out a bunch of them at one time. You can take out, say, 2 or 3 little bulls, and then the big one will come up and you can shoot him as well. You can do it with other bows, but it's just really easy with the Python because it's so quiet. So we're going to crawl up this hill again and just see if we can figure out where the big one has actually walked off to. But like I said, one of the biggest things is just staying calm during all of this and making sure that you're not just shooting to shoot. Obviously, if you're just going to kill whatever you can, then you could have shot one of these bulls and then tracked the rest down. But my method of hunting, I usually just try and wait for the biggest animal around me and then kill him. So I think what I'm going to do is call these guys in and show you how to take one out. So as you can see, all of the calls from these bull elk sound really cool. That's one of the reasons that I was always really attracted to this animal. Just the way that they, I guess, communicate and stuff is really cool, and when you're in the middle of a herd like this, it can get really awesome. So we are just going to try and get a little bit closer and see if we can call this decent one in over here. That could be the big one that I've seen, but I could have sworn that his rack was way bigger than that. Could have just looked different from over there. So I'm going to go ahead and take this time to switch out my binoculars with the rangefinder one, so you guys can see just how close you want these guys to actually get before you take a shot with a bow. Now obviously, if you have the rangefinder sight with the Parker Python, it makes things a lot easier, but I know that not that many people really enjoy using that bow anymore. So if you like to use the snake bite or the recurve or something like that, like I do, I would usually let them get to about 30 meters, and you can see we're going to hear this guy walking when he hits 30. So there you can start to hear him walking. And the biggest thing to really know about that is when you hear them walking, they're at 30 meters exactly, and that's basically when you need to shoot them. Now, this dude is getting a little too close, so I'm going to have to shoot that one. He kind of jumped. Yeah, I did get him. Kind of jumped as soon as I shot, which is unlucky, but this just goes back to the other episode in this series. As you can see here, we have a lot of blood and it's bright red, almost a pink color, so we know that's going to be lung hard blood, and there you can see lung/heart. So I'm guessing from the way that he ran with a 300 shot, that's just going to be a single or double lung shot. I don't think it should really be a heart shot unless we went through the shoulder blade first. But here you can see this was the biggest one out of this little group, and he should be a mid 200 to maybe lower 300s. So yeah, right there you see we got a single lung, and he's a 323. So he's not the biggest of Roosevelt elk by any means, but he is still not that bad. You can see the shot placement here. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but right there's the bullet. You pretty much want to aim right at the bottom of the black little mane that they have if they're facing straight on, and like any other animal, you just want to hit them right behind the shoulder. if it is a broadside shot. Now that we've killed him, we're going to go ahead and run over here and see if there's any bigger tracks that would indicate a heavier animal. Alright, so we got all of these elk coming in now, and one thing that I do want to point out is you will know whenever it's a really big elk looking at it. Obviously the rack's going to be way bigger, but you see how the racks on this guy, or the rack on this guy, is not wide at all. A big Roosevelt elk will actually have a really wide rack, and one of the best ways that I know of judging the score of an elk is the back long tine right there will have a couple extra little points sticking up off of it, and that's always the way that I really determine if it's a 300 or above. So obviously none of these right here are going to be good scoring elk, but I do want to show you guys a broadside shot placement on an elk with a bow. So I'm going to try and get broadside with one of these guys if I can, and show you guys how I like to take them out if they're broadside with a bow, because I've showed you how to shoot them if they are just walking straight towards you. And I also want to show you how to shoot them when they are broadside. So I don't really care which one I shoot, they're all about the same size, but I do want to try and get a shot on one of them broadside, and maybe even show you how to take a bunch of them out at one time. Pretty much, if they are broadside from you, like say this guy here, you want to shoot them right there, right behind that shoulder. But right here you could shoot right there and just blow that dude's heart out. Same for him, but I guess this will have to do. I'll show you guys now. You pretty much just want to shoot right about there, and it's always going to drop them. Now I will go further in depth whenever I actually look at the animal in the harvest screen, and that will give you a better example of what I'm talking about. So just looking at this shot, this should be double lung and maybe a clip of the heart, but this is actually only left lung, and it hit the liver, stomach, intestine. That's just the snake bite. But here you can see the way that the Roosevelt elk is kind of laid out. So the heart lays just above the leg, and if you shoot right in this little fat spot, you can always hit the heart. That's really effective if they're just quartering straight at you. Pretty much the only thing you want to stay away from is obviously the skull and the shoulder blade right here. So broadside shots, you are good if you just go up from the leg and shoot right above or behind the shoulder. You will usually hit both the left and right lung. And if you just want to go for hard shots, this will give you a little bit of a better example. If you hunt from tree stands, these are all good options. Shooting them in the spine, it will go straight down into the lung, and also usually drop them if you hit the spine. And same for the neck bone. If you have a shot, you can take out the second neck bone there, and it will usually drop them. But anyways, that's pretty much all you need to know about hunting Roosevelt elk on the Hunter Classic. So again, this is the little route that I ran. It's kind of messed up, but if you have no luck in this little general area here, then I would suggest you run further up and just hunt all the way up through here. So yeah,